Hi, my name's James and I'm going to help you wind your first bobbin on your brand new Martelli Bobbin Winder. But before we do that, I want to show you some of the things that came with your brand new bobbin winder. First, you'll notice you have two wing nuts. One is to hold your thread in place and the other is to secure your bobbin. Next, we have a thread hook. The thread hook is meant to help you pull and grab thread in some of these hard to reach places. Next, we have a wing nut wrench, which if you have arthritis, carpal tunnel, this will definitely help you in the long run when it comes to removing your wing nut if it does end up being too tight on there. Next, we have our thread guide. It has a small line going through it to stabilize your thread, along with a nose to secure it. All right, so let's get started. Now that you're familiar with all of your tools, let's load in your thread and secure it with our larger wing nut and wrap around your counting cylinder. Then bend the fabric around peg A. After peg A, you want to feed your thread through these guiding bars. After that, you want to S motion around peg B to peg C. Next, with your thread guide, you want to feed it into the belly of the thread guide and then wrap around into this nose until it's holding it straight. After that, we want to place it securely into the thread guide. Now, we will grab our bobbin and get that going. We want to get the thread underneath the screw and secured between the bobbin and the motor. Now we will cut off our excess thread. Now you will want to give yourself some slack with your thread tool. Pull down right here. Once you have a little bit, you want to turn your motor counterclockwise until it catches. And we have our bobbin loaded. So now let's move on to the next step. All right, now that your bobbin is loaded onto the bobbin winder, let's get familiar with some of the buttons we'll see on the screen. First, you'll notice that these two bolts here, one that tightens and one that loosens. Those tools are to help you if you have trouble grabbing the wing nut with your bare hands or anything like that due to carpal tunnel or arthritis. These two buttons will help you loosen and tighten. All right, up next you'll see the M Martelli logo. Every time you start a new bobbin, you want to press this button. And what this is going to do is that it's going to line up the thread right against the wall of your bobbin. And next, you'll see this gear. This means the settings, so let's press it. From here, you'll see a home button, save, spool direction, M1, and factory reset. Let's look at spool direction real quick. If your thread is coming off of the spool in a clockwise direction, you will want to press the button. This should indicate by turning it white. If your thread comes off in a counterclockwise direction, leave it as green. Next, the bobbin type. You'll see right here, M1. This is our factory settings for thread wide, thread deep, bobbin width, and tension. We're providing you with 5 profiles for each M bobbin and 5 for the L bobbins. M1 settings and the L1 settings are the factory default settings, and we suggest that you leave these two alone. M2 through M5 and L2 through L5 are meant for your customizing of the 4 buttons below: thread wide, thread deep, bobbin width, and tension. Now, the different settings you choose for M2, M3, M4, and M5 will save onto the computer. This is state-of-the-art technology when it comes to winding bobbins, and we're going to be depending on you and your feedback for what you think's best for the thread weight you're using. For cotton thread, elastic thread, embroidery, polyester, silk, serger, variegated, and metallic. Rest assured that the perfect settings exist for your favorite thread. Now, the buttons: thread wide, thread deep, bobbin width, and tension. Thread wide is a critical function when it comes to winding the perfect bobbin. This will determine the amount of lines of thread it takes to go from one end of the bobbin to the other end. Threads deep is the parameter for achieving proper tension control of your bobbin while winding the thread to your bobbin. It signifies the amount of layers of thread it takes to get to the brim of your bobbin and will also tell your bobbin winder when to stop winding. Typically, the normal depth of a bobbin is 35 to 40, but may vary depending on the thread you use. But with our bobbin winders, we could get up to 85 layers on M bobbins and 65 on L bobbins. Bobbin width. This is another important setting that directly impacts the tension and consistency of your thread while winding. You'll want this number to match your thread's wide. If your thread's wide is 40, then you'll want your bobbin width at 0.40. Tension. Tension in bobbin winding refers to how loosely the threads wind onto the bobbin. Proper tension ensures an even, consistent winding, which is essential to good stitches. Higher tension allows for bobbins to hold more thread, while lower tension might result in looser winding. Let's go back to the main screen and start the bobbin, but first let's observe that first layer of thread being applied. Now that we've observed, hit the pause button. So now on the screen, we'll see more buttons available. We have Resume, Undo Last, Bulk Unspool, and Wind New Bobbin. Resume will let you pick up right where you left off. Undo Last will undo the last amount of thread that the machine was told to do. So if it's at 5 yards here, it will undo exactly 5 yards. If you hit Bulk Unspool, it will just unspool until it is completely gone and it will not stop. But it will give you a pause to let you pause and stop it to start wherever you want to start again. But while we're here, let's resume. Wow, 96 yards, that's a lot. But we can do more. That's solely up to you. In the settings, under the thread deep, you can click it and you'll see our buttons down here. Double negative, negative, plus, and double plus. Double negatives and double pluses go up by 10. Single plus, single negative go up and down by 1. So if you want to push that, we absolutely can with this tool. But for me, 96 yards is a lot. So I'll take this rubber band and I'm going to secure it around our bobbin.